Target student Tanya Smith. Tanya Smith is a 14-year-old African female in the 9th grade. She is currently receiving special education services in the self-contained setting of the Nashville High School based on a classification of intellectual disability. She was last evaluated on 4/18/18, and her mother's name is Sherry Smith. She is currently in the 9th grade, and her date of birth is 12/12/04. She receives 1,800 minutes per week of direct instruction in literacy, math, science, and social studies. She also receives school-based mental health twice a month for 30 minutes each session. She attends art class 45 minutes once a week and is involved in school athletics with her general education peers at the junior high campus. Tanya has received special education intervention since preschool, and she formerly received speech-language therapy. She is the only child living with her mother who is employed in janitorial services at Rainbow Learning Center. Complications during pregnancy and delivery are not reported, but Tanya was slow to attain developmental milestones. Medical history is unremarkable beyond allergies. According to her mother, Tanya enjoys talking, watching YouTube, playing basketball, and running track. She was evaluated by our district's psychological examiner, Becky Steele. Tanya was administered the Reynolds Intellectual Assessment Scale, 2nd edition, the Bender-Gestalt, 2nd edition, the Woodcock-Johnson Test of Achievement, 4th edition, the Wetman Auditory Discrimination Test, 2nd edition, and the school-administered vision and hearing screening, a Woodcock Reading Mastery Test, 3rd edition, a Key Math, 3rd edition, a classroom curriculum-based assessment, an adaptive behavior assessment, 3rd edition. Her test results indicated that she passed her vision and hearing screenings on 2/27/2018. The Bender Visual Motor Gestalt measures visual and motor integration skills in children and adults from 4 to 85 years. Standard scores range from 40 to 160. Visual motor integration is the coordination of visual perceptual abilities and fine motor control. This test involves having the examinee copy stimulus cards with different designs on a blank sheet of paper during the copy phase. During the recall phase, the examinee is asked to redraw designs from memory. It is a skill that allows us to use our eyes and hands in a coordinated way. Results of this test correlate with math achievement and handwriting skills. Tanya's skills are quite underdeveloped as suggested by her standard score of 58, which is less than the first percentile. She was also given the auditory discrimination test. This involves the examiner reading pairs of words aloud, and the child indicates whether they are same or different. The auditory discrimination test is the way that the brain hears and processes sounds. The Wetman assessment out of level testing produced a valid response pattern and T-score of 28, which suggests average ability to discriminate speech sounds. Tanya was dismissed from speech therapy in April of 2015 as articulation was within normal limits and language delays were commensurate with assessed intellectual disabilities. The intellectual assessment, the RIAS-2, is an individually administered measure of intellectual functioning norm for individuals between the ages of 3 and 94. Tanya was given this, and the composite scores in the verbal and nonverbal domains are reported as standard scores with a mean of 100 and a standard deviation of 15. Therefore, scores below 85 or above 115 are significantly discrepant from the mean. Subtests are reported as standard T-scores, which have a mean of 50 and a standard deviation of 10. Therefore, scores below 40 or above 60 are significantly discrepant from the average score expected. Tanya, her performance on the RIAS, on the verbal subtest, she performed below average in all areas. On the Guess What, she had a 9, a verbal reasoning 20, verbal memory 31, speeded naming task 26, and this is all below the score of 40. On the nonverbal subtest T-scores, she scored below average on all of them, again below the score of 40. Odd item out 34, what's missing 26, nonverbal 22, and speeded picture search was non-applicable. On her IQ score summary, she also scored below 85, which shows that she is in a very low range of intellectual ability. Her verbal IQ was 46, her nonverbal IQ was 68, her full scale was 51, and her memory was 53. Although Tanya's nonverbal skills exceed her verbal skills markedly, functioning in both domains is deficient. Her short-term memory for both types of information is also quite limited. Her ability to process verbal stimuli is poor, and she could not understand how to address nonverbal speeded processing items, which resulted in abandonment of administration of those subtests. On the Woodcock-Johnson fourth edition, on individual achievement, it is a comprehensive, broad-based battery of achievement tests that assess reading, spelling, writing, and math skills. Scores are standard with a mean of 100 and a standard deviation of 15. Norms based on the age 14-4. On her total achievement, she obtained a standard score of 45, which is very limited. On letter word identification, she had a 43, very limited. Passage comprehension, 54, very limited. And it resulted in a total reading of 47, which is also very limited. On math, she scored 55 on applied problems. She scored below 40 in calculation, which gave her a total math standard score of below 40, which is also very limited. On spelling, she had a 56 standard score, and on writing samples, a 61, which gave her a total writing of 53, which is also way below the average score of 85. She could decode several single and double words. She had trouble gleaning meaning from passages when picture cues were not provided. She could spell a few elementary words and write simple, complete sentences, but responses contained limited content. Syntax was awkward, and she failed to always capitalize the first word or include ending punctuation. Her knowledge of calculation procedures is extremely limited, as she erred when trying to add and subtract single-digit problems. She reads time on the clocks to the hour, but she has little money sense, and math reasoning is otherwise still at first grade level. On the Woodcock Reading Mastery Test, 3rd edition, her scores indicated about the same as her other test scores. She had a standard score of 55 on word identification, a 55 on word attack, and basic skills were 55. Word comprehension was 55, passage comprehension 66, and reading comprehension 59. Listening comprehension 68, which all falls well below the average score of 85. Reading proficiency is quite limited as indicated in this assessment. The Key Math is an assessment that involves essential mathematical skills and applications. Scores are standard with a mean of 100 and a standard deviation of 15. On this test, Tanya scored a 55 on basic concepts, a 55 on operations, a 56 on applications, which gave her a total math of 55, which again points to very poor math performance. On her curriculum-based assessment in home economics, she exhibited acceptable behavior. Her attitude and work habits were generally good. She has often, though, been complained to be bossy. On the adaptive behavior, this is a test that refers to the age-appropriate behaviors that people need to live independently and function in daily life. Subscale scores below 7 and above 13 are out of the, are statistically atypical. Tanya scored low in all areas of this test other than self-care, which her teacher and her parent both rated on this test. She had a self-care score of 9 for teacher and 10 for parent. In the conceptual domain, she had a 72, which was poor from the teacher, and 82, which was below average from the parent. A social domain, 83, below average for the teacher, 75, poor for the parent. Practical domain, 79, poor. Parent rating, 80%, below 80, which was below average, which gave her a total composite of 76 for the teacher rating, which is poor, and a 78 for the parent, which is also poor. Significant delays are evident in several areas, which is consistent with a classification of intellectual disability. Tanya's personal strengths were communication, self-care, handwriting, and phonological awareness. Her weaknesses are basic reading, basic math operations, math applications, and written expression. This concludes our assessment over Tanya's formal assessment. Thank you.